Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of my retro journey. And this week, it's the Super Nintendo. Hi again, and thank you for pressing play once again. For those of you who are new, I'm Pixel Paul. For those of you who are returning, thanks for joining me again. As you know, I previously did a video called My Retro Journey, and that was on the Game Boy. And this series is basically going to be a bit of a look back through my sort of journey through some of the retro consoles that I've had over the years. So yeah, started with the Game Boy, and that was my first sort of Nintendo console, I guess. It was first ever console of any kind, really. But my first ever home console, if you like, or proper console, was the Super Nintendo. And I think most people will agree that the Super Nintendo is probably one of the greatest games consoles ever made. Certainly one of the nicest looking ones, proper sort of old school looking games console. But yeah, I got this about, I think it was 1992. I got this for my birthday in 1992. And yeah, I'd obviously had a Game Boy, so I was becoming a bit of a Nintendo follower, a bit of a Nintendo fan. But I guess the main reason I wanted to go for the Super Nintendo at that time was because I was starting to play games quite a bit on the Game Boy and what have you. But I'd also started to play arcade games as well. And the one arcade game that I really loved was Street Fighter 2. So obviously Street Fighter 2 was a big game for the Super Nintendo. So that's kind of why I wanted to go down that road and sort of get the Nintendo consoles. So I don't actually have the original box. This is my original 92 Super Nintendo. I'll probably start to refer to it as the SNES, because that's what I call it. I know everybody has different ways of naming it. It's the Super Nintendo, it's the Super NES, it's the other, I just call it the SNES. So it's the SNES from now on. So yeah, I don't have my original SNES box, unfortunately, but I do have, and I got this from a church jumble sale many years ago. I won't say how much I paid for it, but all I will say is it wasn't a lot. But yeah, so I got this. Ooh, and it's a Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition Super Nintendo. So it came with the box, it came with the SNES, it came with a controller and all the leads. It didn't have the Street Fighter 2 Turbo cartridge, sadly. But yeah, that's the box I've got for my Super Nintendo. So the one that I got with this, I actually sold, and I kept hold of my original SNES. So that's the box. But yeah, when I got my original Super Nintendo, obviously it had to come with Street Fighter 2. So I absolutely love this game. I think it's just I still think it's one of the best arcade games ever made, and I think this is probably one of the best arcade conversions ever made as well. I think for me, the SNES controller was the thing that made it. It's the controller. When you look back to the sort of NES controller, when the SNES controller came out, it wasn't masses, huge difference to it, but all sort of faults of the NES they kind of rectified with the Super Nintendo controller. With the sort of curved edges rather than the angular box shape of the NES controller, and the extra buttons and the shoulder buttons as well. So it was a perfect controller for a game like Street Fighter 2, and you can see why they sort of plumped for getting this title onto the Super Nintendo. Originally sort of exclusive as well. It took a while before a version of Street Fighter 2 ended up on the Mega Drive. So yeah, this is one of my favourite games, still one of my favourite games ever. And let's have a quick look at Street Fighter 2. so that was Street Fighter 2 on the SNES. So what I'm going to do next is take you through the games that I've got for the Super Nintendo. A lot of these are sort of original games that I had from my collection when I first had my Super Nintendo. Sadly, at that sort of time I was trading games in and getting new games with the trading value, usually independent sort of indie game shops at that time. So I did have, I played a huge amount of SNES games over the years, but sadly the ones that I have let go of, some of the ones that I think back to, if I had those now, but you can't turn back time, can you? So so a lot of these are ones that I had from back in the day. I think there's only one I've actually picked up in last year, because they're so expensive, Super Nintendo games. So anyway, so these are my boxed games. The vast majority of them are complete. Some of them are in really good condition, some of them are in less good condition. So we'll go through them. I thought I'd start with some of the earlier Super Nintendo games. So first up, we've got Pilot Wings. Proper good sort of showcase for the SNES's Mode 7 graphics. But yeah, Pilot Wings, it's a bit of a forgotten franchise now, sadly. But yeah, a decent game. That's Pilot Wings. Next up, and I've got a few football games actually for the SNES, but this is the first one of them, and it's not the best. So this was Super Soccer. Yeah, again, it's like heavy use of sort of Mode 7 for this, but it's not the best football game ever created. It's okay in an arcadey kind of way, but it's not brilliant. But this is actually in quite good condition. So that's Super Soccer. And then a series that I really love, and I wish Nintendo would bring back properly. I know we've had F-Zero 99 come out recently, but F-Zero on the Super Nintendo, again, a bit of a showcase for the Mode 7 graphics on the console. But a really good game. Love the box art as well. There's no sort of pictures of the actual game on the box. It's all sort of comic strip kind of art. But yeah, really good game. F-Zero. Really love that game. Next up is another kind of arcade conversion. It's Super R-Type. The graphics look really nice on this game, but it slows down horrendously. There is some real slowdown on this game, which is a shame really, because otherwise it'd be a really decent shooter, and it still is to a degree, but it just, when the screen gets busy and there's a lot of sprites flying around, it slows down horrendously, and it does just take the edge off it a little bit, which is a shame. But yeah, so it's not terrible, but it's not arcade perfect, let's put it that way. But yeah, Super R-Type. And again, another sort of arcade conversion, and I think this one isn't far off being arcade perfect, and that is Super Smash TV, one of my favourite games on the Super Nintendo. Brilliant game, very much like the sort of Running Man on the Schwarzenegger film, very similar to that. But yeah, Super Smash TV, great game. And next up, so moving into some of the sort of newer games here, sort of still from that early era though, we've got, and this is a bit of a big hitter, this one. It's a shame that I've not got it in a better condition box, but it's still not bad actually, and it's complete. But this is one of my more sort of valuable Super Nintendo games, and it is Super Castlevania, and that is a fantastic game, a really good game. Arguably one of the best Castlevania games available. The music is just amazing in it. The graphics were great. Some of the bosses, again, utilises that Mode 7 graphics, where different effects are used for different bosses, and just little things in the background. So like things like swinging chandeliers and rooms that rotate 360 degrees. That was all sort of Mode 7 powered. But yeah, really good game. I know this game's quite valuable these days. CEX sell it for ridiculous amounts of money, but I couldn't tell you the actual value of it at the moment. But yeah, one of my faves for the Super Nintendo. Next up, and I don't actually know how I came into having this game. I think I actually may have borrowed it and lent somebody I think I lent them Super Empire Strikes Back, and I got this in return, and we never swapped it back. Whether that was a good thing or not, I'm not sure. But it's Aladdin on the Super Nintendo. Capcom game. I personally prefer this to the Mega Drive version. I know it's a bit of a split opinion because I ran this kind of poll on my Instagram account not long ago, and there was a lot of people that loved the Mega Drive version and a lot of people who loved this version. I'm in camp SNES for this one though. But yeah, really decent platformer game. Great graphics, great sound as well on it. So yeah, good game, good platform game. So another Konami game, and I love these games that they released back on the SNES that had the sort of black border and silver box. They just look really good and really sort of stand out. I think I've got 4 of these, but yeah, the next one is Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter. Excuse me. So again, another 2D beat 'em up with the turtles in it. It's a really decent beat 'em up actually. It's a good game. And again, sort of with the rise of the Turtles' popularity a little bit at the moment, this has gone up a little bit in price. Again, the box is a bit battered, but not. I've seen worse to be fair. But yeah, that's a decent game as well. Tournament Fighters. Another Konami game, and this one is Cybernator. Possibly one of the more lesser known games in my collection. It's a big sort of side-scrolling shooter with big mechs and big giant bosses. Yeah, it's a decent game, that one, Cybernator. I think it went under the name. It might be like Assault Suits Valkyrie or something like that in different regions. But over here it was known as Cybernator. And yeah, good game. So next one, and you might have seen me talk about this one a little bit on my CEX Roulette video, so I won't talk about it too much now, but it's Alien 3 again. Again, I really like this game, really love it. Prefer it over to the Mega Drive version and the NES version. Yeah, Alien 3, good game, that one. And then I think, so yeah, this was one of the last SNES games I bought back in the day. I think, yeah, it was. I mean, it was quite late out. It came out sort of quite late in the catalogue for the Super Nintendo, and it is Super Mario World 2. I'm not sure why they tagged it that really, but Yoshi's Island. It's Yoshi's Island essentially. But yeah, it's a really decent game. That really colourful graphics. Obviously, Yoshi was introduced in Super Mario World, and this was kind of his first. I think Yoshi's Cookie may have come out, and maybe Yoshi's Safari came out after that as well. But this was like his first sort of proper platformer game, if you like. So let's have a quick look at Yoshi's Island. That was Yoshi's Island, and you may have noticed that my voice was croaky a little bit in that first video, and I think it's because I didn't get my usual cup of tea during that first part. So I've got the brew, should be back in action properly now. So we'll carry on. Still on the boxed Super Nintendo games. So this next one, and I have to make an admission on this one, this is not my game. This is actually my younger brother's game. So if you're watching, I've still got it, it's still in good condition. If you ever want it back, we'll talk about it. It's international cricket, or Super International Cricket. Well, cricket isn't my thing. I'm not a big cricket fan, but my brother was quite sort of like keen on all sports when we were younger, and cricket was one of them. So he actually bought this, and he used to play it. I played it a little bit. It's all right. It's okay. There's not that many cricket games for the Super Nintendo, so if you're a cricket fan for the SNES, then this is the game to go to. But yeah, international cricket. We're going into a bit of a sports pile here. So this one is one of the best, if not the best. That might be a little bit controversial, but I'd say it's the best football game on the SNES, and it is International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. Really good game. Of course, it sort of spawned into Pro Evolution Soccer, which then spawned into nothing because it just disappeared, which is really sad, really, because the ISS games and Pro Evo games were really good back in the day, and this was another good example of it. So yeah, ISS, good two-player game, that one. Next one is NBA Jam. He's on fire. Really good basketball game. That basketball games are quite hard to do, but obviously Acclaim sort of came along with NBA Jam 2 versus 2, made it a little bit over the top, funky sort of special moves and slam dunk moves, but yeah, really good game. NBA Jam, again, really good two-player game, that one. Another football game, and this is the one game that I picked up in the last couple of years for the Super Nintendo. Got it from, it's kind of like I don't want to say antique shop, but it's like an old toys kind of shop in Filey near Scarborough, so that's where we go on holiday. We were on holiday a couple of years ago there, and I picked this up in there. It only cost me, I think it was £5. I mean, the box is seen better days, but it's still, still the cartridge, and that's the main thing. It still plays, and that's what that's what I'm bothered about. And it is Striker. And you'll see there, it's still got a sticker for £43.98. Someone paid for that once. I think that may be a Woolworths sticker, which is where I used to work. So there you go. But yeah, Striker. But yeah, box is in horrendous condition. But like I say, it was only a £5, and the cartridge was fine and plays really well. But yeah, Striker. It's not a bad game, that one, actually. It's, again, sort of in between Superstar Soccer and Super Soccer. It's somewhere in between there, a little bit more arcadey, but yeah, Striker, good game, that one. And then of course another football game, and this was the first version of this to hit the Super Nintendo, because I think for the first few years it was a bit of a Mega Drive exclusive, but eventually it hit the Super Nintendo, and it was FIFA International Soccer with David Platt on the front, and I'm not sure who the Polish fella is, apologies, but that's definitely David Platt. FIFA Soccer, but yeah, this was a good version of it, actually. Having played the Mega Drive versions a lot as well, it translated really well onto the Super Nintendo, so yeah, good game. That's the last of the football games, you'll be pleased to know. So it is the last sports game. Another early SNES game, and this is one of the games that I've got that is in really good condition, not sealed or anything like that, because I want to play the games. So it's Super Tennis, and I still say to this day that Super Tennis is probably the best tennis game ever made. It's just so simple to play, not overcomplicated in any way. It does what it needs to do, and yeah, I just think Super Tennis is brilliant, an amazing game. Super Tennis, again, really good in two-player as well. And then we're moving now into a couple of heavy hitters, I'd say. So the main one is Super Mario Kart. So I have this in a player's choice box as well. And I think I mentioned then, didn't I? I used to work in Woolworths, and I think this game I picked up from Woolworths on the last day I worked there. I think it was the last sort of purchase I made as I was leaving that job. So I got a little bit of discount on it last minute. But yeah, we all know Super Mario Kart. This is a decent version of it. It's been overtaken obviously by some of the later versions now, but back in the day, 2-player again. This was so much fun. Really great game. So yeah, Super Mario Kart. And then this one is, I would probably say, one of the sort of big gems of my collection. This is a game that I got, one of the Christmases back in the day. My dad was a big collector of music and CDs and vinyls and cassettes, and so he was always in places like HMV and Virgin Megastore and Our Price and all these places. So he used to be able to spot bargains, and that would include games as well. So when I moved into gaming, he was always on the hunt for picking up cheap games, and I think this was one of them. And we had like a bundle of I'd say about 8 games, something like that. And this is the only one of that bundle I've still got. The other ones I remember that were in there were Captain America and the Avengers, if you remember that one. If you had that now, it'd be great, because it's quite sort of valuable, but it's a pretty rubbish game. So I traded that one in back then. And there was Bart's Nightmare, that was in there as well. But there was a few others as well, but without realising it, this was an absolute gem. And I've still got it, and it is in immaculate condition. And if there was ever something to happen to my collection and I had to sell a whole lot, this is one game I probably wouldn't sell, because I don't think I could replace it. And it is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Amazing game, amazing RPG. This sort of introduced me into the world of Zelda as well. It's not my favourite Zelda game. My favourite Zelda game is still probably the Game Boy version, but this is still, an amazing game, as most of the Zelda games are, really. But yeah, like I say, it's in really good condition. Everything's inside it, the map and the hints book and what have you. But yeah, Legend of Zelda. I know it's not the most valuable or rare Super Nintendo game, but it just has a bit of meaning for me, and that's why I probably would never sell it. So yeah, Legend of Zelda. So my last boxed game is, I would say, probably my favourite SNES game ever. I really like this game. So I'm going to save this one. Oh, you nearly saw it then. I'm going to save this one to the end, and I'm going to show you through my loose cartridges now. So I'm just going to grab these. Not too many of these, so bear with me. So a lot of these I think I picked up on eBay years and years ago. There's one or two I think I picked up from GameStation when they were selling them off really cheap. But we'll go through a couple of these. So first one is Killer Instinct. Again, one of the later releases on the SNES. And that lovely black cartridge. But yeah, decent beat 'em up, that one. Next up, another arcade coin-op kind of conversion. Super Swiv. It's okay, that one. Top-down shooter. You control like a helicopter and a tank on the ground. Yeah, not bad. Super Swiv. Next up is now this is a good game, but it's so ridiculously hard sometimes. Super Star Wars, brilliant game, amazing sort of use of the Star Wars score on the SNES. This one, some amazing graphics, and some of the 3D sort of X-wing Death Star trench run scenes in it as well are really good. So yeah, good game, that one. Super Star Wars. Next up is Uni Rally, which is quite an unusual game, but a lot of fun. Sort of a kind of like side-scrolling racing time attack stunt kind of game with a uni racer, or unicycle. Sorry, yeah, unicycle. Yeah, weird but fun. Uni Rally. Next up, of course, Starwing, which everybody in other regions will know as Star Fox, but we had to change the name to Starwing because there was a game over here apparently that was already called Star Fox. So we got it as Starwing. That's yeah, another really good game. Really sort of don't want to say revolutionary at the time, but for a home console, it was, you know, sort of fairly revolutionary. It was utilising that Super FX chip as well. But yeah, Starwing. I love how on the cover art they use kind of like almost puppet characters rather than cartoon or CG. They were done like almost like real sort of props. I'm not sure how to best describe it, but yeah, Starwing. Then we've got Zombies, or as I think it's Zombies Ate My Neighbours, isn't it? So on the cart it only says Zombies, but yeah, it's Zombies Ate My Neighbours, another Konami game. Amazing game, sort of real B-movie feel to it. Really enjoyed this one. Recently sort of released on the Switch with Ghoul Patrol, but for some reason they took out the swirling B-movie type title screen for it, and I don't know why, but it kind of ruined it on the Switch for me. But yeah, I've got it on the SNES anyway, so that's a really good game. And then last up is, again, sort of, it's a close one, this, between the one I've not shown you yet and this one is what my favourite SNES game is. Most of these games are favourites of mine anyway, to be honest. It's hard to pick one, but I do like this one as well. It's another Konami game, but it is Batman Returns. If there's one SNES game I would love to pick up boxed, it would probably be this one. I am on the lookout for this. I know CEX have got it. It's not too expensive. But yeah, I would love to pick up Batman Returns fully boxed, just because I love the game. I love the film. But yeah, really big chunky graphics, and it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up or fighting game, whichever way around you want to call it. But yeah, excellent game. So let's have a quick look at this one. So that was Batman Returns, and we've got one more game left to show you. And like I say, this is probably my favourite SNES game. Probably my most played SNES game as well. Single play is really good. If you want to play it in the harder levels, 2 plays is the way to go. I think this was actually the 3rd SNES game I bought. So I had Street Fighter 2. Obviously I bought Super Mario World after that, which I sadly haven't got anymore. That's an itch maybe I need to scratch at some point, pick up a boxed version, or at least a cartridge version of Super Mario World. I think everybody probably should have that if they've got a SNES, but I haven't got it at the moment. So yeah, this was the 3rd game I bought for the SNES, and it is Super Probotector Alien Rebels. Just an awesome game. It's for a SNES game, it's just like really cinematic and epic, and big booming music, massive bosses. Just really, it's unusual to say for a 16-bit SNES game, but it's like really amazing set pieces where different things like the plane that will fly from the back of the screen and drop a bomb and make the floor go up in flames. Just really useful and clever ways to sort of design some of the levels. There's, you know, the biker level as well. And then the final level, I'm hoping I'm not spoiling this for anybody, but the final level is very much a rip-off of Aliens as well. So yeah, it's just a really, really good game, Super Probotector, as most of the Contra and Probotector games are. But for some reason, this one I just think is, you know, one of the best SNES games ever made, and probably never repeated either. I don't think anyone has ever sort of recaptured the magic of Super Probotector Aliens Rebels. So yeah, let's have a quick look at this one. was Super Probotector, one of my favourite SNES games ever made. And that is my Super Nintendo SNES collection. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I say, I haven't got a huge amount of SNES games, sadly. And it's not a console I'm actively sort of looking to collect for at the moment, but there are a few games that I'd still like to buy. Like I mentioned before, I'd love to get a boxed version of Batman Returns. Super Parodius, they're all Konami games, but yeah, Super Parodius is a game I wouldn't mind picking up again as well. And there's a few other sort of games that I remember having back in the day when I was younger, that I wouldn't mind for the Super Nintendo. But certainly those two, I'm sort of maybe going to keep my eye out for, and maybe create a pot that I can sort of build up and maybe fund those two purchases at some point. But yeah, so that's episode 2 of my retro journey, the Super Nintendo. Episode 3 will not be far behind. I won't reveal which console that's going to be, but it might be a bit of a surprise because we'll be taking a step backwards. So I'll leave it at that. If you've enjoyed the video, if you would please drop a subscribe if you've not done already, and if you can give me a thumbs up on the video as well. Like I say, if you can drop me a subscription, then you'll know when the next My Retro Journey video is out and you'll see it more easily. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.